Hello artists, and today is my first video addressing acrylic painting. I actually received a kind of half-finished painting from one of my students recently. I won't be able to teach her again before I head back to the UK. So she gave me a painting half-finished and asked me if I could finish it. So I'm actually going to demonstrate, kind of go through what generally kind of mistakes that beginner acrylic students make, and then kind of demonstrate a bit of acrylic painting myself on top of my students' painting. As I said, I don't usually paint my students' paintings for them, but this is an exception because I won't be able to teach that student before I head back to the UK. So I'm actually going to leave the majority of the students' kind of brushwork and painting, and I will just fill in the blanks. So there's a, I guess, I don't know, I would say a little bit of a contrast between obviously my own, maybe a bit more confident kind of acrylic painting versus some beginner kind of mistakes I can point out in this video. So first of all, a mistake I see is the student not really understanding what they're painting and the kind of texture that they want to create. So for example, with this Van Gogh painting, we know that Van Gogh uses kind of thick oil paint. Obviously we're painting in acrylics, but you don't want to be mixing in a ton of water to create a kind of watercolor-like effect when you want kind of thick, clean paint to, you know, be creating those kind of Van Gogh textures. As you begin to see me paint, I actually didn't use really any water when I was painting the rest of this painting. So very, very little water, if any. Number two is not understanding the importance of drawing. I think it's really important to have a good plan and a good foundation every time you do a painting. And I think a lot of students underestimate how important that initial drawing is to be able to give that good kind of, I guess, foundation to build the paint on top of. The better you are at drawing, the easier the painting is going to come together. And even when you're kind of filling in color, those are also shapes, color shapes. So you will have a cleaner painting and a better painting if you understand how to create those. First of all, create that line drawing at first, and then on top of that to understand the shapes and forms that you're painting on top of those lines. Number three, this is quite a funny one, and I see a lot of students, they will mix a color, for example, for the background. I'm not sure if you can see on this one, but they tend to mix, for example, a lot of color, they'll use up the color and then they will forget how to mix that same color, and then they will mix a slightly different tone of that color, which will kind of result in a kind of patchy I guess effect when it comes to them painting that color on again, or have slightly lighter and darker areas in certain places. So when mixing a color, try and pay attention to the paint that you're using and the colors that you are mixing into that color so you don't forget how to mix it. Number four, this is one that I can get a bit intimidating with my students, you know, on a kind of jokey kind of level. But that is not kind of rotating between brushes enough. You will be surprised how many people, they will love to just use a big brush for everything, including small details. And sometimes I will just turn to a student of mine with my face just like, what are you doing? And then they will realize kind of what I'm saying, and then they will switch to a smaller brush or switch to a larger brush rather than doing a whole background with a tiny little brush like this. Finally, my fifth point is being too scared to make mistakes. I think when you're starting out with something, when you're a beginner, when you're learning, do not be afraid to make a mistake, especially with acrylic painting, because acrylic painting dries so fast. It's not like you have to wait 2 or 3 days at least for like an oil painting to fix a mistake. You can wait 5 minutes and then paint over that. So don't be worried about making mistakes. And remember that, you know, if you were going to be training for sprinting, you wouldn't have high expectations and expect yourself to sprint 100 meters in 10 seconds like an Olympic record in one session. It's the same for painting. With time, you will get better, and don't have super high expectations of your final results. Just take what you can from, you know, the mistakes that you make and learn, and work on your drawing, work on your color mixing and these things, and you will slowly improve. So that's my kind of 5 tips for beginner acrylic painters. I will probably leave some more footage, maybe as I'm talking now or towards the end of the final kind of product, a mix between my students' painting and my own painting. The final aesthetic was not so bad, I would say. Could probably spend another couple hours on it, but it's a very fiddly Van Gogh painting. And I'm not the biggest fan of working with acrylics, I'll be honest with you. I've fallen in love with oils. So thank you for watching. I hope you have found this video beneficial. and please subscribe for more artistic content. Thank you for watching, and here's my awkward goodbye.